Was good, y'all? We in this thing. We back for an early morning, little impromptu. Um, Shoot, we got kind of lost in the sauce last night, guys. We got kind of lost in the sauce. Let me put the shaders on. You know I gotta put the shaders on. We got kind of lost in the sauce. It was a late night stream. Um, Unfortunately, we were learning some sad truths like we always do here on the show. I danced for about 30 minutes. Cause like sometimes you just gotta dance. Yo, what's up, Cynthia? Thanks for tuning in. Hoolagans. What's good? What's good? You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you just gotta freaking boogie, bro. Sometimes you just gotta boogie. And that's what I was doing. I was just hitting a little boogie last night. Ooh. But so last night we also learned that unfortunately blackface has been going on. Yo, what's up, Sheik? Thanks for inviting me to the live. Maybe a little bit later. I appreciate that. Um, Yo, what's up, Nicole? We learned that blackface has been going on in the theater section in Europe since the 1800s. Um, Participated in by Jews as well for their holiday called Purim, which is kind of like a Jewish Halloween. But it's interesting because that exact story is in the Bible. Of course, it's in the Bible. Everything's in the Bible. All right. What's it called? Yeah. So apparently, for this Purim thing, Jews would do blackface as a part of it, and it blackface also originated in the theater, in Europe. So that's kind of what we've been learning about blackface, and then eventually it carried over to America, and then ended up in Hollywood, which the Jewish community started. So there's a lot to unpack. I didn't know that it went that deep. And what's even crazier is that when I was using Microsoft's freaking Chat GPT, freaking to learn more about blackface, in the middle of it giving me an answer, yo, what's good, Alonzo? Peace. In the middle of it giving me an answer, it stopped and said, I'm sorry, I can't give you that information right now. Like, I have it all recorded, bro. You could go to on my YouTube live yesterday. I don't know the timestamp. That's up to you, but it is on live. Bro, hold on. Let me get. Let me get a pillow for my pillow. Yo, you know what I never understood? Why? Why does Pooh Bear sound like he's like freaking 80 years old? Why is 80-year-old Pooh Bear hanging out with Christopher Robin, bro? What the heck's going on? Anyways, it's another topic for later. Um, yeah, in the middle of me asking Microsoft's AI, Bill Gates, about blackface, it said that it can't give me the answer. And that is a shame, man. That is a real shame. You know why that's a shame? Because eventually I asked it again and then it gave me the full answer. But it's like it was very strange, bro. That was very strange. It was like no, you can't. We're not allowing you to do this research that makes you know. I don't know. That was some crazy stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, check this out right now. Check this out. Boom. Super Smash Bros, bro. Super Smash Brothers 4K background, dude. What you got on that, dude? That's freaking mint. All right. So we do have this is just kind of like a little morning show. just to kind of get my day started, help you guys get your day started. We are going to get into some politics. I do kind of like the night show, not as much as the morning show because I don't have the freaking energy. Like right now, I got energy. I could talk. I'm like Dante from Shrek right now. I could just talk, 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 and talk, talk, talk. But this, because my original thesis was that Hollywood was important to the downfall of the black man in the '60s, which is kind of starting to make some sense. I just need to do more research, and that's kind of what I spent the podcast doing was research more than talking. And I was tired. I'm not gonna lie, and I was dancing, but it's because well, these are just kind of like theories I had. But check this out. So if blackface originated in Europe by the white community, I assume, and it was carried over here into America, shown on television after slavery was over. Now, mind you, this was 1960s where they were doing blackface. 80 years, I believe, after slavery ended. Gosh, how long was the civil rights movement after slavery? From 1865 to 1877. That's not what I'm looking for. Well, here's the thing. Look, when did blacks get the right to vote? I mean, we could do this all day. We could do this all day. So blacks got the right to vote. It was only a few years after slavery ended. 15th Amendment, which sought to protect the voting rights of black men after the Civil War, was adopted in 1870. There we go. Okay. So 1870. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for 1870 when blacks, the 15th Amendment happened, which was just a few years after slavery happened, ended. And 1965, that legal barriers were outlawed in the state and local levels if they denied any Americans their right to vote under the 15th Amendment. So, unfortunately, blacks were kind of like the 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 sacrifice, the sacrificial lamb for all other POCs, and for voting and stuff. But yo, what's up? Thanks for the roses. Thanks for the roses. So basically 100 years, give or take. That's why I said 80 years. So remember this. In 1960s though, this is when blackface was still happening on television. So gotta understand that television is kind of like it was kind of like the iPhone when it first came out. Like only wealthy people had it, and it was kind of like the programming was like it's kind of like meant for a certain demographic. But so 1960s, the blacks get the right to vote, but that's also when blackface, and it was going on before then. This is around the time. Let's see, what was television like in the '70s? Because you want to say the '70s is when you really would have saw it take place. The '60s is when it would have started. But this, what was black television like in the '70s? During the 1970s, viewers began to see an increase in the number of black roles for black actors. Additionally, black middle class and political influence began to grow. In 1977, the seven-part miniseries Roots became the first major TV drama to feature a primarily black cast and tackle the issue of racism and slavery in primetime television. The best '70s black TV shows. But you see, even it was like Roots was the first critically acclaimed black television show, right? With an all black cast. But what was it? What was it portraying this as? Slaves, or not slaves? But it's like, why couldn't it be? Why couldn't it be like Fresh Prince of Bel Air? Let's go. Let's check out some Roots on. Now I didn't want to deep dive too back get too back into this.
Fontana police targeted.
It's very important.
I, I likes you, Missy Ann. You my best friend, always was, but...
Look at this scrap.
But why? There
No,
seems just so much happening all of a sudden. And it's wonderful, all of it. You'll come here to live, Kizzy. Here.
no, 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 no. You want to know why the black family fell down in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s? When you portraying us as niggas on the television? Nah, bro, this is in the 1970s after black people were very, very known to be smart, bro. This is 100 years after slavery. Oh, but now y'all want to talk about it. Dude, what do you think this is giving the impression of the people who are watching this? White people in charge, black people stupid. Let's just keep going.
Here with me. Never lived no place but masses. Oh, it'll be much nicer here. You'll have a room of your own, right next to mine. Never been away from my mom and my papa. Oh, Papa.
Here's the thing, especially because the community that engaged in slavery here in the US, they were not nice people. Why are they being painted like these are nice, elegant people? That's not how it was going down, bro.
Toby will be back and forth with Uncle William, and we'll be over to see Mamabelle near as much as we'll be here. Oh, it'll be better than ever for you and me, Kizzy.
Look at this. 50 years later, they meet again? Why is she still a slave 50 years later?
Yes, begging your lady's pardon, but is your name Missy Ann Reynolds?
Missy. Nobody's called me Missy for over 1,000 years. But my
See, look.
maiden name was Reynolds.
Look at this. Imagine seeing all your beloved stars either as villains or slaves. It did a psychological number on me. I'm telling you, yo. See, this is some. Yo,
Yes.
you're still depicting black people as slaves. And I understand it's for education and blah, 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 blah. But there is some trickery going on here, my boy. There's some high level trickery. Who produced the TV show Roots? Roots was produced by Banner Productions, and the 2016 remake was produced by Mark Wahlberg, whose father produced the original 1970. Okay. Mark Wahlberg. And my point is this, yo. What you are these were the influencers, right? Back to what I was saying last night. This was influencing the nation. This was influencing white people. This was influencing black people. Why would the white people of today, because this is 100 years after slavery, obvious, so many of those people at the time did not own slaves or participate in it, and many of the black people were not slaves or participated in it. But yet you're gonna influence the nation to make us think that this is the perspective on how things are.
Kizzy.
I'm sorry, but I don't recollect knowing any darky by the name of Kizzy. Another cup.
Darky. So remember, this isn't real. This is just a TV show. So my point is like, yo, how are we supposed to feel good about us? Maybe I haven't seen this whole show. Let's keep watching.
And I must say the whole crew embraced me because I was freaking out. I mean, I couldn't let it go. When they said, cut, I couldn't let
If I accept this horse, must I stay in jail for it? I don't understand.
Back to Mark Wahlberg, who produced, not Wahlberg, Walker. Let's guess his ethnicity. Yep. So we got white guys making slave movies in which it looks like just hopelessness for the black characters. Watch this. Hold on. Mark Wahlberg was born blah 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 blah. Who's this guy's dad? See? David Wahlberg. There we go. Okay. Now do you see my point? So we have non-black people making movies about blacks. But they don't even put Roots in here. David L. Walker was born on January 11th. So remember, Roots was the first big show for featuring a black cast. But it's like, bruh, remember this show? It's like, okay, you guys are showing the horrors of slavery, but you guys still weren't taking accountability of it. It's like a false way to take accountability because we need those reparations, bruh. Because you trying to just make movies about it. Nah, we need to really fix what happened, bro. Let's see, because we got this going on. So this guy, David Walker, was important for how, let's see, was Roots a good TV show? Yes, fortunately, this new Roots is very good. So it's still 1977, 1980s. let's see. So basically, I need to do more research, but you got you just got a whole bunch of basically negative press about black people, sad press about black people, and from just making movies about it from the community that really did this in real life. Remember, slavery wasn't just a film; it wasn't just a movie; it really happened. So from the community that did that, to then say not give us reparations after that was something that was talked about, but then to be not in favor of reparations, but okay with making movies about the crimes that your community did and profiting off of it. That's okay for you guys to do. So you can go make movies, say, hey, look what we did to this community. Look how evil we were. We're not going to pay them any money, though. You're going to pay us to watch it. You're going to pay us to watch how evil we were. That's the energy that I'm getting from these films. Because a lot of times, especially nowadays, the lines between films and reality are blurred. And that, my friends, is called the magic of television. Let's see. So it's like we couldn't have been a superhero movie. You couldn't have had anything. See, because yeah, right, all right. Then we had Soul Train. Okay, so black television was actually really good, though. Black television was good. All right. Different World, 1987, 1993. All right, now I'm getting a better picture. Now I'm getting a better picture. Cosby Show, 1980s. You had Sanford Jefferson's. You had Soul Train from 1970 to 2006. All right, I like the Soul Train. See, I don't like this whole. I don't like the idea of a white guy making movies about something that their community did and then charging people to go watch it. Of saying, hey, look what happened. Like, all that money from these slave movies should go directly to the black community. You know, I do like this Soul Train. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Remember, black people are known for entertaining. So this was one of our first big breaks was what? Entertaining. But you're not gonna take this guy seriously. Are you gonna watch? Let's watch some Soul Train, bro. I'm sorry. I love Soul Train. Soul Train's awesome. It's good vibes, but it's like Soul Train's right here, and where we need to be is right here. So, Soul Train is cool, but it's like I'm not trusting none of these guys with my money. I'm not. I'm not taking none of these guys seriously, bro. In the real world, and this is how, unfortunately, these were the influencers, right? Now you got all the ethnicities in America thinking that that's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you, thank you. Uh, been a long time. Been a long time. Um, Now you got all the youth in America thinking that all black people do is goofy dancing. Yes, this is fun. Yes, this is fun. But yo, remember this is right around the time that black people started to fall off, right? So you got 1971, which is like, all right, all black people do, according to television, is do dance moves. Let's see, what white television shows in 1970? Um, categories. Let's see. Most popular TV shows of the 70s. The 70s TV shows that were that were when television really pushed the limits of what could be shown. The list of the best TV shows from the 1970s ranks from the decades from the show's best to best to worst based on your votes and votes from other television shows. Here we go. We got the All In family. Now, mind you, there was a lot of black family television shows now that I'm realizing and remembering. All in the Family, MASH, Happy Days. But you see, so television is this new, and mind you, they did have some good black families on television. I will say that. But this also started the basically the rhetoric of what's known today as the, I don't know, I guess the black victim, I guess. Because a lot of people say that black people victimize themselves. Well, I say Hollywood victimized us with the way they portrayed us on TV. They portrayed us as thugs, uneducated. Look, black people, not serious, not focused. Because any white guy could just be like, look, this is what you do. The black guy, you wanna, this is what you think. This is what you want. And then watch this. So we'll chill on Hollywood and all that for a little bit, and then I want to go to the CIA crack epidemic because I heard that there was this thing of the CIA essentially planting drugs in black neighborhoods, and this is around the same time, 19. Let's see. Says the answer may be yes, and the charge reviving old rumors about the agency's complacency in cocaine smuggling during the Reagan administration's covert war in Nicaragua has some African American leaders ready to carpet bomb Langley. I think it's inconceivable that the intelligence community or the CIA could think of so little, blah, 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 blah. We got to find the information we want. So that was in the 80s. What we really know about the CIA, how Gary Webb linked the CIA to the crack epidemic and paid the ultimate price. Shout out Gary Webb. Shout out Gary Webb. Taki Nama. Gary Webb's Dark Alliance seriously boldly claimed the CIA knew about a U.S. drug trafficking scheme that ravaged the country's inner cities to fund Nicaragua's Contra rebels. Years later, he shot himself in the what? In the three-part expose, investigative journalist Gary Webb reported that a guerrilla army in Nicaragua had used crack cocaine sales in Los Angeles black neighborhoods to fund an attempted coup of Nicaragua's socialist government in the 1980s, and that the CIA had purposely funded it. Right? For Webb, nobody was forcing. Let's see. For Webb, his reporting challenged the widely held belief that crack use began in African American neighborhoods, not for any tangible reason, but mainly because of the kind of people who lived in them. So thank you, Webb. Hey, shout out to Gary Webb, man. R.I.P., bro. Because this is basically the stuff that Charlie Kirk and the Ramaswamis are saying, that black people are the cause of their own demise, right? Nobody was forcing them to smoke crack, the argument went, right? Nobody's forcing black people to kill each other. No one's forcing black people to have sex out of marriage so that they only have themselves to blame. This is literally the same argument of today, bro. It's the same argument that the oppressors are using. They should just say no, right? That argument never seemed to make much sense to me because drugs don't just magically appear on street corners in black neighborhoods. Even the most rabid hustler in the ghetto can't sell what he doesn't have. Can't sell what you don't have. I'm in the middle of jury duty right now. Any tips? Shoot. Uh, look fly. Um, if anyone was responsible for the drug problems in a specific area, I thought it was the people who were bringing in the drugs. Those people he found were backed by the CIA, bro. Look, this is getting interesting, bro. Gary Webb speaking at the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation annual legislative conference. He participated in a panel discussion, connections, coverages, and casualties, the continuing story of the CIA and drugs, September 11th, 1997. On the other hand, more prominent newspapers, hmm, hmm, did y'all just see what I said? This happened September 11th, 1997. 5 years, four, five, four, five, four, five, 4 years before 9/11, the freaking 9/11, you know what happened on 9/11. So this was 4 years, and he was accusing the CIA of backing the people who brought the drugs into these black neighborhoods. On the other hand, more prominent newspapers couldn't believe that a small-time newspaper had scooped them in such a groundbreaking story. Webb faced an onslaught of reports from the New York Times, Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times that sought to discredit him, and it worked. The CIA, amid a public relations nightmare, broke its policy of not commenting on any individual's agency affiliation and denied Webb's story entirely. Facing intense pressure from the biggest names in media, Webb's own editor-in-chief rescinded support for his story. So the CIA said, nah, he's lying. Gary Webb's career was ruined in 2004. And in 2004 he ended it all with two 38 caliber bullets to the head. Dang, bro shot himself twice in the head? Nasha Kama. Here's how Webb's groundbreaking story propelled him to the national stage and spelled his doom. Gary Webb's Dark Alliance. Webb's Dark Alliance consisted of a group of rebels trying to overthrow the socialist government in Nicaragua. These Contras were funded by Southern California drug ring and backed by the CIA. So there was stuff going on in Nicaragua. I don't even know where Nicaragua is at. What'd you call me? I ain't know Nicaragua. For the better part of the decade, San Francisco Bay Area drug rings sold tons of cocaine to the Crips and Bloods street gangs of Los Angeles. Oh wow, look, of Los Angeles. A San Francisco Bay Area drug ring was selling so drug people from San Francisco were selling to the gangs in LA. Um, they funneled in millions in drug profits to an arm of Contra guerrillas in Nicaragua run by the Central Intelligence Agency. That's what Gary Webb said. 1996. So understand this that remember, hold on, this is crazy, bro. So he ended his life 2004, bro. Let's go back to where it all began. The U.S. backed dictatorship. Nicaragua came to an end of the Sandusky Resolution, 1978, 1979, with no legal recourse to the topple. No legal recourse to topple the five-person blah 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 blah. President Ronald Reagan allocated $19.9 million to set up a U.S. trained promise force of 500 Nicaraguans, what eventually became known as the FDN or the Fuerza Democrática. But in order to topple the Sandists, the FDN, also known as the Contras, needed a lot more weapons and a lot more money. And to get that money, it looked beyond foreign aid. Soon enough, according to Webb, the FDN set its sights on the poor black neighborhood of South Central Los Angeles and rendered it ground zero of the 1980s crack epidemic. So this is really what's responsible for the downfall of black people. It's not the Lyndon B. Johnson signing. It's not, and this does have stuff to do with Hollywood and how it was portraying. But this right here was the icing on the cake because Hollywood uh basically was like drugs for your mind. Hollywood presented this perspective, and mind you, they did have a bunch of black family TV shows. So you know what? I would like to. I still need to look more into the Hollywood story, but I would like to say that it was more of the crack epidemic in the 80s. Mind you, this was the icing on the cake. Of course, in the 70s and into the 60s is when it started, but this got to be the icing on the cake, bro. Webb's reporting focused on a few central players of the LA coke scene on the Contra rebels, illustrated how a CIA-backed war in South America devastated black communities in Southern California and across the country. At worst, the CIA orchestrated the drug ring. At best, they knew about it for years and did absolutely nothing to stop it. So the CIA could have orchestrated the these drug people, these drug gangs to go infiltrate Los Angeles black community and get them all hooked. At worst, the CIA orchestrated the drug ring. At best, they knew about it. One of the best notable street level players was Oscar blah 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 blah, a former Nicaraguan turned police cocaine supplier. From 1981 to 1986, Blendon seemed to be protected by invisible higher-ups that quietly held jurisdiction over local authorities. After 6 years of shepherding thousands of kilos of cocaine worth millions of dollars to the black gangs of LA during the early 1980s without a single arrest, think about that. After 6 years of shepherding thousands of kilos of cocaine, he was busted on drugs and liver charges. Okay, so after 6 years, he was finally busted. All right. So it's like, how was this guy able to move free and clear so long? What the heck? These are freaking child soldiers, bro. In a written statement to obtain a search warrant for Blandon's sprawling cocaine operation, LA County Sheriff Sergeant Tom confirmed that local drug agents knew about Blandon's involvement with the CIA-backed Contras all the way back to the mid 1980s. In a written statement to obtain a search warrant. So this is from a LA County Sheriff said this. Tom Gordon, LA County Sheriff Tom Gordon confirmed that local drug agents knew about Blandon's involvement. So this guy saying, yeah, we kind of knew what he was doing. What the CIA they just basically confirmed they knew that this was going on. And what's it called? Danilo Blandon is in charge of a sophisticated cocaine smuggling distributing operating in Southern California. The monies gained from the sales of cocaine are transported to Florida and laundered through Orlando Murillo, who is a high-ranking officer of a chain of banks in Florida named Government Securities Corporation. From this, the bank, the monies are filtered to the Contra rebels to buy arms in the war in Nicaragua. So they're taking the money from LA, sending it to Florida. It's the same. It's the same. All of this and more was later backed by Blandon himself after he became an informant for the DEA and took the stand as the Justice Department's key witness. Are you serious? So this was wow. There is a saying that ends justice. There is a saying that the ends justify the means, said Blandon in his court testimony. And that's what Mr. Bermudez, the CIA agent who instructed the FDN, told us in Honduras. Okay, so we started raising money for the Contra Revolution. So this guy who was the basically uh, the uh, the head drug guy, when he got arrested, he took trial, became an informant, and said that this is what the CIA agent told him to do. Donald Shorts, a mechanic and resident of Watts, blamed the crack epidemic that washed over South Central Los Angeles on the complicity of the CIA and the lack of employment opportunities for black youth. Meanwhile, Blandon testified that his drug ring sold close to 1 ton of cocaine in the U.S. in 1981 alone. 1 ton of cocaine in 1 year. In the following years, as more and more Americans became hooked on crack, that figure skyrocketed. While he wasn't sure how much money went to the CIA, he said that whatever we were running in LA, the profit was going for the Contra Revolution. Blandon confessed to crimes that would have meant life in prison for the average dealer, but instead he spent just 28 months in prison, followed by unsupervised. Yo, so this dude could have really been a CIA informant, because if this dude was just a drug dealer, why didn't why didn't he go to jail for life in prison? Why did he only spend 3 years and 3 months? Oh yeah, 3 years in prison with unsupervised probation. He has been extraordinarily helpful, said O'Neill to Blandon's judge while arguing for his release. He's been helpful. The DOJ proceeded to pay him. No way, bro. This is crazy. More than 166,000 in 2 years after his 1994 release for his services as an informant for the U.S. government. Oh my gosh. Even Blandon's lawyer, Brandon Bluin, was convinced of Blandon's alliance with the world's most powerful intelligence agency. So this was a thing. Look, protesters march outside of the CIA's Boston offices in the middle of winter to demonstrate against the war in Nicaragua. Wow. Brennan said that his client never specifically claimed he was selling cocaine for the CIA, but figured as much from the atmosphere, of CIA and clandestine activities that surfaced during that time. The big aircraft came largely from El Salvador, according to the U.S. General, blah, blah, blah. Was he involved with the CIA? Probably. So this is his lawyer. This is his attorney. Probably. Was he involved in drugs? Most definitely. Were those two things involved with each other? They never said that, obviously. They never admitted that. But I don't know where these guys get these big aircraft. He sent his information to DEA headquarters in the 1980s, but the only response he got was an internal investigation, not of these flights, but blah, 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 blah. Man, this is a long article, bro. Gary Webb believed that if Brandon, uh, Freeway Rick Ross, here we go. Freeway Rick Ross didn't know how to read until he taught himself at the age of 28 while in prison. Mentioned a flaw in his conviction, which subsequently led to a successful appeal. Oh, wow. The real Rick Ross. A cover-up with devastating consequences, LA drug lords had come up with a way to make cocaine cheaper and more potent, cooking it into crack, and nobody spread the plague of crack as far and wide as Ricky Donnell. Wow. According to regular Ross rank, so now they're gonna try to blame Ricky Ross because of course there was black people. All right, but this isn't about race. This is about human behavior. This is about the human condition. Ross confirmed to Webb. What? He talked to. Oh my gosh, bro. All right, this is crazy. He was almost like a godfather to me. When Webb realized that Blandon, the fundraiser for the Contra, sold cocaine to Ross. So this guy sold cocaine to Freeway Rick Ross, bro, South Central's biggest crack dealer. He had to speak to him. He eventually got Ross on the phone and asked him what he knew about Brandon. Ross had only known him as Danilo and figured he was a regular guy with an entrepreneurial streak. He was almost like a godfather. He was the one who got me going. He was my main source. Everybody I knew through him. So he really could be considered as my only source. So the CIA allegedly hired this dude Blandon to run cocaine in LA, and Blandon linked up with Rick Ross, started moving it through him. He was almost like a godfather to me, said Ross. He's the one who got me going. He was. Now you gotta understand. Now, I would say, well, why didn't Rick Ross just say no? You gotta understand. There's good people, there's good black people, there's bad black people. Obviously, hold on. I want to say that this was if this was targeted by the CIA, they were going to make it happen. You feel me? When Webb told Ross that Bland had worked for the Contras selling drugs to financial weapons, Ross was flabbergasted. And they put me in jail. I'd say that's some. Yeah, so Ross was the fall guy, said Ross. They said I sold dope all over, but man, I know he done sold 10 times more dope than me. He's been working for the government the whole dang time. Ross learned how to read at the age of 28. Problems with Gary Webb's reporting. To be sure, there were serious problems with Webb's writing and reporting, as Peter Cumming laid out during the review. 1967 represented some powerful evidence that two FDN-affiliated Nicaraguans became prolific drug smugglers in the 1980s. But when it came to the most enticing bit of the story and the part that most animated and enraged the American public, that these smugglers were linked to the CIA, there was, on a closer reading, very little direct evidence. In all 2,000 words of Dark Alliance, Gary Webb never claimed outright that the CIA knew about the Contras drug stream, but he certainly implied as much. The CIA denied there's reporting on Stearns. Follow up. Speculative passages like Freeway Rick had no idea just how plugged his Euridicat cocaine burger was. He didn't know about Norwin Meneses or the CIA were clearly intended to imply CIA involvement. It was clear that Blandon and Meneses had connections to the FDN, and to some this may seem a trivial disconnection, but in the words of the quote of the article, failing to do so and crafting the whole piece as a one-sided damning report without presenting contradictory evidence was a major oversight by Webb and his editors and made his expose widely open to criticism. U.S. Web Raps and Wards represent a major holds up an apparent package of cocaine for the press. She puts the government to investigate Web's findings. The major papers poke holes, and that criticism came like a tidal wave after a brief blackout. While some Bay Area papers and talk radio, what the heck? Talk radio, particularly Black Talk Radio, pounced on the story. The country's major newspapers and remained mostly silent. Wow, so when this was happening, it wasn't even in major news. Like, you wouldn't even heard about this. Dark Alliance was breaking internet records, boasting 1.3 million site visits, a remarkable feat. Oh, wow. Then, October 4th, the Washington Post posted a scathing investigation to claim that the available information does not the Washington Post for inclusion of the CIA-backed Contras or Nicaragua in general played a major CIA role in general. A couple weeks later, the New York Times released its declaration that there was scant proof for Webb's main. But remember, now it's getting into the mainstream media. But the greatest criticism came from the Los Angeles Times, which assembled a 17-person team. One member remembered it being called the Get Gary Webb Team. Here we go. On October 20th, the LA paper, incensed that it had been scooped in its own backyard, began publishing a three-part series on its own. Like the other major papers, the Times relied on the very hyperbole and selective reporting in its own takedown series that it criticized Webb of committing. Wow, this is freaking long, yo. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Reporter Jesse Katz, who 2 years prior had written a profile of Ricky Roos describing him as a criminal mastermind most responsible for the flooding Los Angeles accused with the mass market of cocaine, did a complete about face and characterized Ross as just one small player in a sprawling landscape of LA, blah, blah, blah. How the crack epidemic reached that extreme on some level had nothing to do with Ross, he wrote. All three papers ignored evidence already out there, including a mostly ignored Associate Press from 1985 in the House Committee on the U.S. officials. Wait, whoa. A press report from 1985 and a House subcommittee from 1989 that found that the U.S. officials' involvement in Central America failed to address the drug issue for fear of jeopardizing the war efforts against Nicaragua. According to the CIA article that was finally released in 2014, oh my goodness, titled Managing a Nightmare, CIA Public Affairs and the Drug Conspiracy Story, the media's penchant for jealousy and cannibalism worked in the agency's favor. Rather than mount a stealth public relations campaign, all the agency had to do was provide reporters with comments of denial. The reporters didn't need to be convinced to go after Webb. They did it gladly. Clearly, there was room to advance the Contra drug CIA story rather than simply denounce it instead of investigating the questions. Gary Webb, blah, 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 blah. The Dark Alliance saga began a matter of look what horrible things the government may be implicit, but it turned into look at what a sloppy journalist Gary Webb is. Steve Weinberg of the wow. Steve Weinberg of the Baltimore Sun was one of the few who rationally defended Webb. The story took where it seemed to lead to the door of the U.S. National Security and Drug Enforcement Agencies. Even if Webb overreached in a few paragraphs, based on my careful reading, I would say his overreach was limited. If it occurred at all, he still had a compelling, significant investigation published. Whew. Sorry, guys. Sorry. It's a lot. It's a lot. Kill the messenger. The death of Gary Webb. Whatever the desired effect was to vindicate their own journalists for not covering the groundbreaking story first, to assure Black Americans that all was fine and the CIA really did have their backs. The biggest impact it had on was Gary Webb's life. Jerry Sepos, then the executive editor of Mercer News, wrote an open letter to readers in 2017. The news media took his apology and put it on blast. Webb, who just a few years prior had won, wow, so this guy had won the Pulitzer Prize, was resigned to the what? Hold up. So this dude was actually a winner, bro. For lack of a better words, he was a winner. This dude wasn't just a reacher. The Pulitzer Prize is an award administered by Columbia University for achievements in newspaper, magazine, online journalism, literature, and musical composition within the United States. So this dude actually had an award for his research. But now all of a sudden, in this particular case, he's BSing. Okay. Uh, come on, come on. Where is this? Where is this stuff at, man? This stuff is good, bro. This stuff is good. About to we're about to be pretty much done here in a minute. I'm just trying to freaking get this. Where's the Gary Webb thing? No. Where's the Gary Webb thing? No. Oh no. Most popular. Oh wait, here we go. It's freaking ad. Grimes was reassigned to the computer desk where his thirst for investigative reporting went desperately unquenched. He resigned from the paper by the end of the year, and his reputation was so tarnished that he couldn't get a job anywhere else. He was forced to sell his home in 2004. Damn. But on moving day, he shot himself in the head with two 38 caliber bullets. Webb's rise and fall was most recently dramatized in 2014 movie Kill the Messenger, starring Jeremy Renner as Webb, based on journalist Nick Schuster's book. What the heck? And they made a bro. They're not gonna do all of this extra work about a guy who was lying, bro. I'm just saying. Once you take away a journalist's credibility, that's all they have. He was never able to recover from that. Webb's reporting ultimately panned out. Wow. See, that's crazy. Imagine if this guy would have had a podcast or something. It's impossible to view what had happened to him without understanding the depth of his career as a result of the story. It was really the central defining event of his career and life. Still, the journalism's world response to Webb's Dark Alliance spelled his doom. After reading about the Gary Webb exposing the CIA's potential complicity in LA's crack epidemic, learn all about Nellie Bly, the pioneering investigative journalist who faked insanity to expose the inner workings of a Victorian-era insane asylum. Then take a look at 37 startling photos of 1980s New York City when crack was the king. Wow. It is absolutely criminal that you mentioned multiple times that Webb supposedly shot himself in the head not once but twice, and yet you did not expand. Oh my gosh! Bro, I didn't even realize that either. I was thinking in my head, I'm like, how do you. Oh man. It's absolutely criminal that you mentioned multiple times that Webb supposedly shot himself in the head not once but twice, and yet you did not expand on this detail whatsoever. Literally nothing. Bro, did this guy kill himself? Multiple opportunities to do so, yet you completely gloss over it and instead resign to what amounts to mere footnote in your article. Do you honestly believe that this detail does not deserve to be expanded upon and that this part of the story is not worthy of exploration? You on moving day, bruh. While the facts are that Gary died as a result of 2 gunshots to the head, one must ask how a person manages to shoot themselves in the head, withstand that shot, and in a coherent manner recock the gun and then shoot themselves yet again. My God. It's a shame because the rest of the article is quite good, but you. Wow. All right, y'all. Well, that's enough internet for today. Bakire shokuma hakana yatana. Yetiele kopuria de dakara bokiene le she. Ie pakuru matiele kopia telenana ahakata. All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and end it there. But I got my research. Now we got what we needed. And yeah. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like and share. Hoolagans.